We're on week 3, episode 2 of the Human Reset of the introduce yourself to the listeners who may not have caught the first one,
Sure.
which hasn't even been released yet.
No, yeah. Jesse Sargent, president of delivery at Overwatch, one of the founders with Kirk. And yeah, I've been here for 3 weeks now, just trying to kick my own ass, get my mind right, get myself in shape. But it's, I've had to learn, we were talking about earlier today, right? Like, bro, you can throw a pack on my back and just tell me to go, and I'm gonna go.
Sure.
I'm having to learn, how to listen to my body, but I'm also having to learn that, this isn't a diet, this isn't a fad, this isn't anything like that. This is a lifestyle change.
100%. So let's go to the beginning. So people that may have missed the first one, we're in the middle of, you're the beta test of our Human Reset, right? And the genesis and how we got here and what we're doing with that. Because I'll be honest, I don't know many people that would have been able to endure what you've done for the last 3 weeks.
Sure.
And I want to unpackage some of that because what you do, look, you throw out a lot of positive energy. You have a lot of command presence when you walk into a room, right? And it's infectious. But if you are not balanced and you're not right, then that room that you have the ability to change the energy in will change negatively if you're negative.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So the genesis behind this was how do we take this thing that you have, this gift to lead, and turn it into something that is more meaningful for you. It'll have a greater impact on your quality of life. And as a byproduct of that, it'll radiate throughout your family. We're trying to break generational curses in all of our families.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what we gain as a business from that is what?
Well, what we'll gain from it as a business and what any business would gain from it is, if I'm right and I'm leading myself, my team's going to be able to be right and I'm going to be able to lead my team better.
And that lends itself to a greater level of output and productivity,
100%,
which not only in your case impacts top line, but it in 1000% will impact the bottom line, right?
Yeah. And
because you're leading large teams now. So I want people to understand that the genesis for this was, if it started with me, where I found my own limitations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've been on my wheel for how many years, right?
10 years now.
Right. And we've been building a lot of awesome things together. We get to work with some of the greatest clients on earth, and we've learned a ton since we first started. But if you're not investing in yourself, you'll hit a plateau. I was able to kind of stay a few steps ahead of my management team as we grew, and we were growing very dynamically. And there's 2 business models. There's only 2 that exist, and that is, this industry is growing at such an accelerated rate beyond every other vertical of industry because of every other vertical of industry. If you're in healthcare, if you're in finance, if you're in high tech, if you're in cloud, if you're in AI, if you're in anything that has e-commerce or eyeball content, video caching, it goes back to a data center. Every industry that requires technology as a tool to accelerate or grow their business will need technology. That technology, at the end of the day, will find itself a home in a data center, right?
Without a doubt.
So our industry is growing faster and more aggressive than every other vertical of industry. And we knew that we were growing so fast as a business that we were not investing in not only developing our talent, which is the primary line of business we use to generate revenue. We're not a data center operator. We don't use space, power, and cooling and connectivity to generate revenue. We use human beings that have names, and it turns out they all have their own emotional skill set and they all have their own professional skill set. And if you bring on talent, everyone hires someone because they find value in them, and that's measurable in talent, right? Yeah. But once they come on, if you're not investing in the growing and developing that talent, one of 2 things happens. You will burn that employee out, or that employee will go find another job that will probably be most likely doing the exact same thing they're doing, but maybe at a higher, more refined schedule, and they're just getting paid more money. And that money that they're getting paid makes the pain worth it. It's not that they're getting more fulfilled in the new role they're doing, but now they're leveraging that as a step up. Yeah. And they're saying, hey, look, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to be miserable, I might as well be miserable getting paid more money, what makes it more worth it, right? Yeah. We could quantify that back to, if I'm making another $45,000 a year, that's 2 more vacations, 1 more in the winter, 1 more in the summer. I'm the man, right? Yeah. So why wouldn't I suffer? That's my job as a man, is to suffer. I believe, like with my home, my job was to provide emotional, security, physical security, and financial security, and obviously not always in that order, right?
100%.
And for me to do that, I have to be selfless and I have to go out and lay out. But what I learned was, like, when you get on the airplane, is you got to put your mask on before you can put the mask on to help others, right?
Yeah.
And we, especially as parents or fathers or husbands or whatever, we have to take care of ourselves better. And we weren't doing that. And I wasn't doing that. And as your leader, how can I ask you to do something that I wasn't capable of doing myself, right? So we learned in multiple discussions that there's two models. There's a business that's going to grow so aggressively because this industry is growing so aggressively that a lot of these really high-speed, low-drag companies, it's not that they don't care about their employees, but they're making a conscious business decision to say, hey, look, it's easier for us to rip out and replace people, or when they break fix, we just replace them.
Yeah.
And yes, we may have a setback of 3 to 6 months, but we'll get 2.5 to 3 years of pure grind out of them before we burn them out and they move on. Again, most of those people will move on and go do the same thing, just make more money, and they find value in that. And they're going to keep chasing that circle until they find a way to make themselves happy, right?
Sure.
And for us, the other alternative to the business model, if you're not going to, because you don't want to lose your market share and you don't want to lose more than your fair share of the opportunities, you're not going to slow down in the middle of a windfall, which this industry's been in a windfall for years, right? So no one's really stopping to fix things. They're just passing things out as people are burning through. Well, that worked great until we realized the limitations that it had on our own business. And it started with me, where I had hit a plateau where I wasn't able to grow my team because I was no longer investing into my own talent. I wasn't developing my own talent. And I found a few resources that have really helped me level up, since then. Would you agree?
For sure.
And that leveling up didn't mean like making more money necessarily or getting a bigger title. And it just simply meant that my emotional range was expanding as my knowledge was growing, and I had a better approach to how I would have to triage problems, and I would rotate more objectively and less emotionally. And I was trying to gain that advantage. Did you see it in my process?
Yeah.
And then in that, if it was good enough for me, I felt it was good enough for my entire team. So we intentionally and deliberately said we're going to shift our entire business model to the development of talent, because that's the primary line of business that we use to generate revenue as humans. And I don't think there's really going to be a lot of people in this industry that are going to stop to develop talent. I think they're going to just let them fall out and then replace them. And I'm not saying that's a bad model, but what I'm saying is we're going to play into that model by harvesting them, by creating an incubator within a culture that allows us to take people and allow them to grow and heal, right?
Yep.
So the biggest mountain I had to start with was
me.
Right. And it's because you have been with me for years. And it's like, I remember the school calling me once for one of my sons. And I literally, in a joke, went to the teacher. I'm like, I don't think I could spank him any harder. Right.
Yeah.
And it was a joke. But I mean, for you, I was like, I don't know if I could push you any harder. And that's why one of the guys that physically or emotionally was able to break me and help build me back up to be stronger emotionally and physically was Dakota. Yeah. Right. And it wasn't just Dakota. I mean, he's fantastic. There's no silver bullets, but it was a combination of people. Right. And then there was Carly as well, who's going to be doing podcasts with us, because she is a professional at the development of talent. And she probably forgot more about that stuff than you and I combined even know. Right. Yeah. So I started introducing things and said, hey, listen, Jesse, do you trust me? Because there's a lot of things that are going to come in your growth, but it's going to come through pain. And it's not going to be comfortable. Yeah. And I think I was talking to Dakota about this when you I think hit not a plateau, or a rock bottom, but maybe a level in which you're like, I'm not happy with who I am. I'm not fulfilled with what I'm doing anymore, and I need to make a change. Yeah. I don't want to speak for you, but was that about right?
No, yeah, for sure. And I think that, there's only one thing that I would maybe change about some of the stuff you just said. And it's what I hope people take away the most out of this is, like, anybody can do this. It's just a decision. You have to, like, how many years, and granted, I know we've made a lot of changes in, like, let's say the last 6 months, but, like, for years, people have told me to do certain things and do this or do that. And I didn't, right? I just, call it hard-headed, call it whatever you want, call it being comfortable, right? In whatever we were doing. And you could look at my LinkedIn, My LinkedIn's a perfect example of 2 years, and I was like, all right, fuck this place, time for the next one.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I think one of the cool things is like, you know, having started this with you and everything like that, like I'm not this isn't a place that at 2 years I'm like, all right, peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
We own this bitch. We can't go.
Well, and not only that, like there are some people at this company that I would literally step in front of a bullet for.
Yeah, same.
You know what I mean? And so like, you can't cash it in. You can't like, there's so many people at our company that could go somewhere and make more money right now.
Sure.
Right? But what I think is it's something more than that here. And it's a family, and you're not a number. You're not this, you're not that. Like, we genuinely care about each other. I mean, look at the things we've done at the compound, right? You know, from if you want to work out at the compound, there's a place to work out. If you want to do a sauna at the compound, there's a place to get in the sauna. If you want to go float in the pool, if you want to get in the hot tub, if you like,
we're adding a cold plunge
next. Yeah. And it's a place where like, if you want to be better, you can go there and be better, but
you can go heal.
Yeah. And like, you're looking at somebody that had every excuse in the world not to do it. I got 4 kids at home. I got a wife at home.
You travel every week.
I travel all over the world now. Like I used to be able to just say I got to travel all over the United States. It's not that anymore, right? Like I said it in the first podcast, but like I fell into a routine where I spent 10 years trying to be what everyone else needed me to be, right? And I finally reached a point to where like, if I want to go to the next level, if I want to be a better version of me, if I want our company to be better, like it's not a situation where I can just, you know, be like, okay, well, I'll go do something else. Now it's a situation where like, I gotta be the something else. I have to be the better, right?
If you can't lead yourself, how are you going to lead others?
Yeah. Yeah. And it took me a long time, you know, like anybody that's sitting around listening to this being like, you know, I've heard that. I get it. I was the same way, right? Like I've sat around and made plenty of excuses and this and that. And honestly, it just got to the point to where I would go to work, I'd travel, I'd come home, and my wife will tell you, like, I didn't want to do anything.
Just got to heal from all the pressure and stress that we were under.
Yeah. But like I told you on the car ride here, like I'm excited to go home. Probably for the first time in a long time. And it's not because of my wife. It's not because of my kids. It's not because of any of that. It's because like, I want to go do some stuff. You know what I mean? A lot of people at home that I enjoy and want to see and everything like that. And like, it's crazy to me, like losing the weight's great. Doing all that's awesome. Like I love seeing it. I love feeling it. But I can't describe like how much just different I feel in my mind. It's a really hard thing to describe for people. But, you know, like the guy that used to want to go home and like, you know, complete transparency on a Saturday night, my wife and kids may go to the neighbor's house and have some fun and do this or that. And like, dude, I wanted to sit in my basement and basically do nothing. Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that anymore. Like I told you about Landon, like Landon, now that he knows that like I'm, you know, I've already told him like I got a plan for the things I'm going to do when I'm home, right? Cause I'm leaving. Yeah. I'm leaving today and I'm going to be home for the holiday and everything like that. And I got to stay the course. And a lot of it is pre-planning, you know, the things you're going to do, whether it's what you're going to eat, how you're going to exercise, what you're going to do. Like part of mine is I love being outside. I love going on walks. And my son is the same way. Right. And for a while, we just weren't doing those things. Right. And he even was like, Dad, I talked to Mom. You can take me out of school early on Friday. We can go to the dam. We can do this and that. And like,
that's awesome.
You know, then I talked to Kelsey and she's like, I didn't tell him that.
But he wants to see you working out and he wants to be with you while you're doing it.
Yeah. And even like, My communication patterns have changed with my kids, right? Like,
so let's slow down because there's a lot.
Yeah,
I'm sitting front row seats, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I wanted to kind of tee this up and lay a foundation in case anybody didn't catch the first one. Because the first one, when I say you're a huge presence, you're a huge inspiration. You inspired me. I started my journey because of you.
Yeah.
And your journey will inspire a lot of these listeners.
Yeah,
and I think that what you want to do is, I want to slow down and don't assume that everyone that's listening to this one listened to the first one. I want you, I mean, like even the side-by-side pictures that you showed us a couple of days ago, because you're not doing this for weight. This is not a diet.
No.
This is a lifestyle change. And like, I don't think I'll ever see you go back to what you were, but I see a much more powerful version of you emerging from this. And I got to tell you, like, it took a lot of 4:30 mornings, a lot of 8:15 dinners, or, night, I'm going to sleep
7:15 dinners, 8:15 bedtime.
Yeah. But people don't realize, like, people want to be happy. They want to be comfortable, but they want to be better. But they realize, like, hard decisions make easy lives. Easy decisions make hard lives, right? And that's really where you were. You were in that loop.
Yeah.
And then something happened where you made that decision. And it wasn't there, like you said, you're an ox. No one's going to change your mind. No one. Your wife couldn't do it. I love you like a little brother. I couldn't do it. We have two guys that serve with you in combat on our team. They couldn't do it, right? But it's okay. You don't own the market on being stubborn. In fact, that's a strength, and that's one of the things that we love about you. But at some point you submitted, or not submitted, you capitulate. Whatever it was, you arrived at something where the fear of the unknown was no longer worse than the fear of the known. You were, what could be was greater than what you know you are. And you made that decision, and it's had a profound impact on you, which is already translating back into our business. Like, a healthier version of you is a higher level of output and productivity, which radiates down throughout your team, right? Because you're having a greater connection with them. And I have noticed you communicating much more efficiently. And if I were to be most honest, it's more objectively without emotion.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
You're not so easily guys like us that are highly passionate can go from we're super cool to chopper sick balls in 3 seconds, right?
Yeah.
But we were trained to be able to have that, right?
Yeah.
And now we don't want to be triggered, so we're going in and we're doing some housekeeping, right? I'm on my own journey. We'll talk about some of the things that I've got to do as a byproduct, because I'm with you in this journey. I'm just,
for sure.
I'm on the same journey like everybody else that's listening. I'm on level 47. You're on level whatever, or 48. I'm on level 48. And you're on level, what year? How old are you?
35.
There you go, level 35. So doesn't mean you can't be at level 40 at 35, but and there's plenty that are. I mean,
for sure.
Like Carly on our team is probably on level 45. It seems like she's just very cerebral and very intentionally focused on the things that go on up here, right?
Yeah.
And we weren't. We were more like what we can do with our hands and what we could do with our bodies, and now we have someone that's like, no, that's not how you want to do it. And they're coaching us on how to slow down, because slow is smooth and smooth is fast, as you say all the time, right? So for you, you went from nothing. No, I mean, your diet was trash.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Fast food, pop, ice creams, I mean, like,
shitty sleep.
You fucking name it. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd stay up till, 2, 3 later in the morning just because that was my peace time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now my peace time is in the morning.
Yeah.
Before everyone's up, right? Like, believe it or not, it may suck getting in that cold plunge at 5:30 in the morning, but there's some peace about it too.
Yeah, it was interesting because you would go work out, and on the days that the cold plunge didn't work for a few days, those workouts weren't as pleasant, were they?
Not at all. No.
And that cold plunge is super unpleasant. Like, I was listening to the Rogan Rock podcast yesterday, and they were talking about different types of cold plunges, and I'm like, I'm 90 seconds. That's the most that I've been able to build up to. What are you at now?
I did 4 minutes the other day.
See, and I think it's a decision. You have to just say, because my body freaks out, and then I have to, I'm trying to capture my breath for 30 minutes or 30 seconds. But like, you have a profound impact on your mind if you just say, go with it. Just go with it and just own this and sit there. And I'm gonna have to work up to 3 or 4 minutes. I'm not gonna let you beat me, right?
Well, it's funny because, like, I started out where, like, you'd get in and you go,
oh yeah,
and you can't breathe.
You literally can't catch your
You
breath.
can't.
It knocks the wind out of you the first time.
100%. When I got in the other day, because today was my first off day since October 27th, right? And that was just because I'm learning to listen to my body, understand the way that I feel, as gross as this may sound, understand the color of my urine, and things like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things you can do to biohack yourself to understand, what your body's trying to tell you.
You've eaten things that you've never eaten before, and those are things that are
so
healthy
many things
and common. But for you, like a Brussels sprout's like never going to happen.
Not at all. But now they happen regularly.
Yeah.
Asparagus, all that stuff. But the cool thing about the cold plunging about it, like, I'm learning that everything is a decision, right? Because like now I can get in that cold plunge, and as soon as I lean back, I can go.
Yeah, you could catch your breath.
And
you're
I'm
not
fine.
getting it run away from you.
And I'm fine because I'm just telling, like, if you just tell yourself you're all right and you can do it, and it's not even so much that I'm not saying you sit there and give yourself a pep talk. You just, I don't know how to explain it. You just,
there's a thermal layer.
You
that
let your mind go. You just let your mind go, and you breathe, and you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've been working on. I mean, you started at a low number like me, and you just been building up to it, right? And
yeah, I was at the first time I did, I was 30 seconds sitting straight up. Now I submerge myself up to my neck and just sit there and chill. Yeah,
you actually. I've never seen anybody love it as much as you, but you also have freakishly high bone density. So let's do this. We did the first week where we talked about the genesis behind this and why we were doing it. And I think that we were doing it and doing it in real time because we didn't give a shit of your success rate.
Right.
We wanted, like, we are amateurs, right? We are amateurs trying to change the world.
Yeah.
We are not professionals at changing the world. But there are celebrities that do have the capacity to change the world, from the Rocks to the Rogans to the Dakota Meyers, right? And those people have massive influence, and they do have that aspiration. And for us, we're amateurs trying to. What you will do and what you have done resonates with more people. There's not a lot of people. If you're a Marine, you can resonate with Dakota Meyer. If you're a combat infantry person of any branch, if you've been shot at and had to return fire, you can relate to it. But there's very few people that have been recipients of the Medal of Honor, and those people may be the only ones that could really resonate at that level, right? But we all could admire and respect that strength. There are things that we won't be able to resonate with some of these high-end celebrities on because they're just so far on another level for us that that's not us. Like, we're just regular people in this industry on a journey. Life is not, there's no destination in what we're doing. We're just, this journey is to be, we have to enjoy it in the present, and we have to be fulfilled by what we're doing. And if we could fix ourselves, a couple enlisted people from the military that just pick an axe worked our way up through the industry, if we could make these changes and watch it radiate down throughout our company, then it's good for everybody. And that's why we're having this conversation, right? Yeah. So the first time we were talking about ripping all the Band-Aids off, and we were doing it unapologetically and without fear or concern of failure, because that's part of life too. And even if we knew that if we started this and then you went home for Thanksgiving and you came, because you've lost a lot of weight since you've been here, and the goal is to continue that momentum. And we knew that during the holidays, there's a higher risk of you relapsing or falling back into some really bad habits, especially if you go back home. But I've seen you change in the way in which, not change, but I've seen you turn corners. You've pivoted. Mentally. And I think everybody in the management team has seen it. And I wanted you to get this out here because there's more people that relate to you that can relate to these celebrities, right? You're more of us. We are you. And there's all of us in this industry have the same struggles and the same opportunities and the same concerns and insecurities, but we also share the same passion. And I think people want to be better. I think everyone wants to be better, but no one really knows how to do it, or they don't want to pay the price to do it. And there's a big difference. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So for you, you're doing this not just for, look, you're doing this first and foremost for who?
For myself.
But why?
Well, I'm doing it for myself because that's the only way I can make my family better, my son's better, my daughter's better, right? Like I want to be the man my sons want to be, and I want to be the man my daughters want to be with. Does that make sense? Like
that's the only thing that you have to do, right? Because there will be no other men that have a longer relationship with your daughters than you, other than the man that they marry, right? So like, if not you, then who will they emulate?
Yeah.
What will they look at as a strong man?
Yeah.
And like, that responsibility is us as fathers. Even if you don't have kids, you still have somebody that you have to kind of want to lead, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, so to do that, whether it's a child or a friend or a neighbor or any other member of the family or the people on the teams that you lead, if you're in service of leadership and they're in your charge, you owe it to them. Remember, we were talking once and someone was asking me why I worked out. I'm like, try to imagine having a team of savages like you guys, that I have to stand tall for every day. And you hold a pretty high standard for those that you're going to follow.
Sure.
And so do those that are in my charge. So I have to be worthy of their respect every day, and I have to earn it. I don't get to wait and say, like, I don't know if you know this, but last year I did a half Ironman. Ta-da. You know, like, no one gives a shit. Right. What they care about is what I did today. Yeah. And you have to do the same. We have to put out every day, right?
Well, that's why I think we were talking about it today. Like, because you were on me about enjoying the journey and being proud of myself.
You're such a competitive person.
That
if I put a metric in front of you, no one's going to stop you. Like, not only do you not need my motivation or influence, I couldn't stop you if I tried, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want you, who's so competitive, to put this journey of a lifestyle change into a goalpost where it's just a destination that you get to arrive at, because you'll never stop changing. Right. Then I said, enjoy the moment.
Yes. Yeah.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah. And for me, like, I think what I was saying is, like, listen, for those of you that don't know Kirk, like, Kirk's always been the first one up, the first one out to the garage to be working out and everything like that, until about 3 weeks ago. And what it is like, and I know I'm a competitive person, but it's not a competition. But man, I would be fucking lying to you if it doesn't feel good to pull into that driveway. And it's not, like I said, it's not about doing more or trying to be this or trying to be that. It's like, I know I'm at least going to start my day knowing that I was up. I did some shit that made me uncomfortable.
Up before the enemy, as Jock says.
Listen, the mice ain't even up at 4:15. You know what I mean? And it feels good. Like, you
come into the garage when I'm working out, when you got back from Dakota's gym, just to smile at me as I'm in the middle of my workout.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because that is a friendly camaraderie competition thing. You know what I mean? Like, I love it. And it you know, we don't talk shit back and forth or anything like that.
You're just there to be like, oh, you're just getting started?
Yeah.
Let me know when you're done.
I mean? Oh, you're ringing the bell a little late this morning, Ophel. You know?
Yeah.
No. Listen, I'm doing that right now because, like, that was the discipline that I needed to develop, right? Because when you start this, and like, even when I started this, right, like, anybody, and I mean anybody, can be motivated to do some shit for a couple days.
Yeah. It's fleeting.
It is. One thing that I've realized is you have to develop these habits, and you have to develop a little bit of determination and discipline, because, dude, if you think that there have not been mornings that my alarm went off at 4:15 that I was just like, fuck, like, I just want to lay in this bed a little bit longer. You know what I mean?
But it feels good to get up when you wanted to lay there.
It does. It feels really good to get up. And that's what I mean by, like, I've almost tricked my brain. I'm not even going to say almost. I have tricked my brain into realizing that I can check a couple boxes before most people are up in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's a fucking powerful thing.
Yeah, you're getting wins. Wins are addictive. I wake up, make my bed first thing. I wake up before I take a piss. My bed's made. I'm doing 3 things. I'm waking up. That's a win. I'm making my bed. That's a win. I'm making my, got my vitamins in me. I got whatever in me, and I'm heading off to the gym. So we have a $30,000-$40,000 weight set in the compound garage. That's for our team to use if they ever need to go work out, right? And it's got everything that you need in there, right? And I like going in there and being alone, where I'm normally there before anybody else gets into it, just so I could have some peace. Like your peace is in the morning. Like a lot of your workouts, sometimes you're kind of solo, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
But your discipline came from a purpose.
It did, but I've also realized like, I'm not saying I like working out alone. Like everyone likes to have somebody to suffer with, and not only that,
you
like,
work out better when you have other people.
Yeah, you push yourself harder and everything like that. But like for me, like even though my wife is now on her own fitness journey and everything like that, like I got 4 kids at home, and I can't expect my wife to be up at 4:15 in the morning with me going and working out, right? Like, so like I needed to show that I have the discipline to do it by myself, so that way I could continue doing it when I get home. But even, and my wife will have a heart attack when she hears this, right? Like I do my laundry in the morning, you know what I mean? After I'm done working out and everything like that. And just so everyone's aware, like you're talking to a guy that's done about 4 loads of laundry in his whole life outside of the military. Right. Like my wife's great, and she takes care of a lot of that stuff for me. But I have found that things that used to really fucking annoy me, really bother me about my day, like just things that I didn't want to do, it's not like that anymore. You want to know why? Because the shit that I really didn't like,
you got done early.
It's done already.
Yeah, so now you get to enjoy the day. You got over the mountain already. So you had a purpose. I mean, your discipline, you were definitely externally motivated for the first week.
Oh yeah, 100%. My boy, like especially one of my boys, Landon, right? Like, if I don't level up and I don't become harder, like he'll pass me way earlier than I want him to. You know what I mean? Like I've never met a 10-year-old kid that wants to go to as many trainings, like he just wants to go. He just wants to get better. I mean, he plays select baseball right now. He went right out of football into select baseball, wrestling. He's doing strength and conditioning for football, and football just ended, right? Like those are all things that, I thought I was doing my job as a dad by being able to provide those things for them from a financial standpoint. And, now as my mind is changing and different things are changing, I'm realizing that like, it's so much more than that, right? Like you've said it to me before, talent will only take you so far. Right. And that's true. Like some people are more physically gifted. Some people are more talented at things than other people. And those things will take you really far. But at the end of the day, hard work will beat talent any fucking day of the week.
It'll beat the brakes off it.
100%.
So, but you had a purpose. I remember sitting in the backyard, so that other people understand the other part of the story is like Dakota and I had already talked about a reset for you, right?
Yeah.
And you came to me one day and said, "Hey man, I need a reset."
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "I got this."
Yeah. I was unhappy, right? Like, and, I was unhappy. I was uncomfortable. Every man in my lineage has died young.
From poor health, bad decisions in life. Poor health,
bad environment, bad decisions in life. Like, you name it, they checked all the fucking boxes.
Sure.
Right. And here I was, I had broken away from the factories and the coal mine and everything like that. But everything else about my life was the same. Do you know what I mean? Still ate unhealthy. Still, for those of you that do know me, I didn't shy away from partying at conferences and things like that. Right. Like, but really what it was is, when I lost my dad, that was super hard on me. because my dad unfortunately made the decision that I'm making just too late in life, right? He made it in his late 50s instead of his early 30s. And so my dad died at 62. Even though he was the healthiest he had ever been at 62, he died at 62, right? I don't want my boys to have to go through that. I don't want my wife, I saw what losing my dad did to my mom, right? And I couldn't, like, if something was to happen to me, I don't know what my family would do, right? So, like, I owe it to them to be the healthiest version of me,
Yep.
to be able to be around for as long as I possibly can. But, like, the purpose behind all of it was I was just no longer happy with life. I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. My marriage was having problems because, like I said, I didn't want to do anything. Like, and I think what I told you at one point in time, and this went for everything in my life, I need to know that I'm not the problem.
You're 1,000% the problem.
I was. And, my family wants to be led by somebody that
is worthy.
Yeah, exactly. The people that work for us are worthy of being led by somebody that's worthy
You're no
to
different.
lead
I mean,
them.
remember, I'm looking at you and I'm like, if I don't get my shit on lockdown, I got a lot of badass guys and now women, powerful women that work for us. One of the most powerful leaders at our team it takes a woman. We had to have that. That was the missing piece, don't you think?
For sure.
She has a way of engaging with us without triggering our egos.
Yeah.
We men with our fragile egos, which we're trying to, we're trying to get better at those things, but that takes time. Those are decisions and those are habits, and it takes time to break those things. But having someone come on that doesn't escalate our egos when we're not attacked. We know she's not trying to police us. She's trying to protect us. So she's trying to protect us from ourselves because we have a tendency to sabotage ourselves because of our egos.
And let's be honest, women just have a better maternal approach.
It's that feminine energy
to problems and people. And
I agree.
We'll go where we go 0 to 100, pretty quickly. Women are just more methodical about it. They can process those things better than we can.
I think that some of the most powerful leaders we've seen have been women, and those are the types of women that don't give a shit about the male woman dynamic. There's like, whatever, I'll go toe to toe with you wherever, right? And I think that we just tried to create a stronger and healthier environment with a more balanced leadership team. And I think that enabled all of us to advance. I was advancing from her governance. I mean, I would call her, and there was one time, I think she said it was for 34 minutes, I had an emotional garage sale before she's like, well, how can I help you? And I'm like, that's not the answer I wanted. I was like, I want the answer. And just the other day she was doing something with me and I called her and she's like, well, I don't know. It depends. What did you tell them success looks like? And I'm like, who talks like that? Like I should have known that already, but I was moving too fast. She's like, yeah, you got to slow down. Right. So we needed that to dig our heels in because now we have more traction. Do you feel it?
100%.
So for you, focusing more back on you because we are introducing so many variables here, but what we're trying to resonate is what we're doing and how we're doing it. We're not splitting the atom. We didn't solve cancer and we didn't figure out another way to build better data centers. We're just focused on, we don't even build data centers, right? We do, but we technically just build teams.
Yeah, I was going to say, we build the people that manage the build teams of the data centers. We're trying to, in my opinion, we're trying to build leaders.
That's it.
Because our industry does not, you've said this before, our industry does not lack genius or smart people or people that know what they're doing.
Intelligence. Yep.
It lacks leadership and courage.
Right. For us, we thought we were tougher than our civilian counterparts until we even hit our own plateaus. Yeah. And I was like, and I'm getting trained and mentored by all kinds of people right now. I have I fortunately have the ability to run into orbit with a lot of the best leaders of this industry and best leaders from the military and best leaders from other elements of the civilian community that, for whatever reason, have been so graceful to try to help me level up.
Yeah.
You know, they see me struggling and they'll step in and be like, hey, when you get to that point next time, don't go left, go right. You know, certain things that are easier than others, but going back for you, we got to this big thing where one day you just said, all right, I've hit it. And not rock bottom, but you hit a plateau where you're like, this is not acceptable, not even to me anymore.
Rock bottom's pretty fair to say.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean,
from an emotional and physical standpoint.
Well, let's talk about it from this perspective. And this is something I think everyone will resonate with. You work for me.
Yeah.
Did you notice that the unhealthier you got, the more I would put my foot up your ass?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
There was friction.
Well, and it was
because I love you and I'm watching you deteriorate in a road from a health perspective. And I'm like, your family deserves better. You deserve better. This team definitely deserves better.
Yeah.
And it's now just a selfish act, right?
Yeah. And like some people think, and we experience this in our own team, right? Some people think that when somebody talks to somebody that way, that it's a negative thing. When in reality, I think it's the greatest love that you can show somebody. You know what I mean?
Let them know that they could be better.
Well, and just like, let's be honest, and I'm going to try not to get emotional here, right? There are
the times I've yelled at you or something. Is that where we're going?
Well, no. Like,
or raise my voice.
No, what I was going to say is like the two most influential men in my life by far are my father and you, right? And you know, as a kid, I had my dad to put his foot in my ass when I needed it.
So that ass chewing was sometimes necessary.
100%. And you know, as I've gotten older and, you know, my dad not being here and things like that, like you stepped in to tell me like, hey man, why don't you fucking get your shit together? You know what I mean? And
you were doing such an amazing job. I think the problem for you was, how can you be up on my ass when I'm getting better every month professionally? Like, I don't get it. I'm putting better points on the board.
Yeah.
Like, we are crushing it like we've never done before. I'm like, I don't care. Imagine how much better it'd be if you were healthy.
And it's a hard thing, right? It really is. It's a hard thing to understand. It's a hard thing to process. But because we have been together for 10 years, I think you having an outside front seat view to me, you were able to see the pain.
Sure. You weren't happy.
You were able to see that I wasn't happy.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and you know, my wife saw it. There's plenty of people that saw it, but nobody had. I've told you this before too. There's two people in my life that get to talk to me a certain way, and that's Kelsey and Kirk O'Fell. Right. But even my wife wouldn't talk to me the same way. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, she would, but not in a way that was able to resonate as much as when you did it. Right. Like I need, it even goes back to when I was in the Army and before that, right? Like, one of the reasons I'm such a big proponent of sports teams and wrestling as well, like wrestling in particular, because wrestling, it's just you.
Yeah, I love that.
The only person you can blame
ultimate accountability
is yourself, because the person that's going to win that wrestling match is the person that was willing to suffer more before that wrestling match.
Yeah, through hard work, through whatever.
100%.
Yep.
Team sports, though, are a great thing too, because you have somebody that's able to push you. You're able to be forced to level up. Like, if you want to play on a certain team, right? Like my son's football team is fucking phenomenal, right? You know, they got
the Super Bowl or something.
Yeah, they got scored on twice this year. Every Monday, I still told my son, like, hey, there are 5 kids just waiting for you to fuck up.
Sure.
Right? There are 5 kids just waiting to take your starting spot. I didn't have that enough in my life anymore. because I was doing well in my professional life, and I was, you know, for all intents and purposes, somebody could have looked through a fucking glass window and they have been like, he's doing all right. You know what I mean?
You were crushing it from a business perspective.
But what people didn't understand is like, I was not all right. I was not doing okay. Like, I wasn't doing good mentally. I was not happy. Up, over, and out. That's the only way to describe it. I wasn't happy with it.
It put a lot of strain on our relationship.
100% it did. And that, as you know, that bothered me, right? Like it did bother me, because I would sometimes be like, I don't fucking understand. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Right? Even though you were telling me and you were describing it, like, you don't realize it's really hard to have that self-reflection, right? Like, and that's what I mean by it's a decision, right? Like, honestly, anybody could really do this. Anybody could do
the change that you're doing, or what are you talking about? Like professionally, like building data centers?
I think doing the change that I'm
100%.
Yeah. Like
it's for everybody.
It is.
It's scalable.
It is. And like you were talking about, like, we're not celebrities. No, you know,
we're amateurs trying to change this
We don't
world.
have millions of dollars buying $120,000 red light beds or you know, $20,000 cold plunges. Like, we don't have any of that.
We're just working on ourselves and then talking about it out loud.
That's it. And it, you know, we were listening to a podcast in the car the other day. Like, a lot of people don't realize, like those PEMF mats where you can ground yourself to the earth that are like, you know, fucking $5,000. Guess what? Go stand in the fucking grass with your shoes off. Does the exact same thing.
Every morning.
Does the exact same thing.
It's fantastic.
If you can't afford a cold plunge, go stand in a cold shower.
Sure.
It will do the same thing. You will have the exact same effects. People just make a lot of excuses, right? Because it's the easy thing to do. It's hard. It's hard to do the right thing all the time. It's hard.
Consistency is what wins it.
Yeah. If we want to get into diet and everything,
I want to save that for a little bit later, though.